Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Becca and today we are doing a repotting video. I've got a lot to do, so I'm excited to hang out with you. I've got pretty much my to-do list on this side of the plant folio, and then I've got my workstation over here. I also just got my shipment of De La tanks, so I asked them to send me a couple bags because I have lots to do this coming spring. So here it is. If you're not familiar with what this is a soil that I made in collaboration with Tank's Green Stuff, which is a soil company located in Tucson, Arizona. Calling them a soil company really simplifies what they do, but for the purposes of this video, they make really awesome soil-based plant products. So yeah, I've got pretty much my entire collection in the De La Tanks mix. I have to do a little bit of amending for certain plants, but for the most part, it's a really great all-purpose plant soil, and everything here is going to be getting just straight up De La Tanks, no amendments. And I'm super excited. Inside of this soil, we have pumice, cocoa husk, and compost, which is made at the Tanks facility from diverted landscape clippings, which is really cool. I got to go see the process of how the soil is bagged and made and everything like that. And I have the footage and I really want to do something with it, but I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet. But anyway, hopefully I've played some sneak peeks for you while I've been talking about it. I have it linked down below if you're interested, and I have a code. I think it's just De La Plants or De La Plants 10 for 10% off. I'll have it on the screen to clarify. Let's see what we need to do. Also, I'm going to be answering some questions. I didn't recognize my phone because I just put on my summer phone case. Super exciting. Okay, so I asked you to ask me questions on Instagram. So I'm just going to scroll through that and see what you guys are saying. We got a lot of questions. Okay, so the first question I'm gonna answer is, how is the new plant wall now that you've lived with it for a while? The plant wall is really awesome. I'm very happy with the fact that I did that. It has made my life so much better. I'm gonna sit on this pillow so I don't have to sit on my feet because I can already feel my feet going numb. It just cleared up so much space in this room. Like, this room does not feel crowded anymore, like at all, which is amazing. I'm so happy about that. It just feels like a brand new, fresh space. And it made me super motivated to do this in more places in my home because I have a tendency to start home projects and then abandon them. So it just sort of gave me that motivation to maybe take on some other home projects that I abandoned. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove this sphagnum moss from these two cute hoya. As you can see, we've got a lot of really good root growth going on in here, and I got these cuttings from Nicole, My Clean Leaves, and this is how she roots all of her cuttings. So if you ever buy a plant from her when she does Instagram sales, this is how it'll arrive. It arrives with some sphagnum moss in these little cups right here, which I would like to do this again with like other hoyas, like keep all this material and just replicate this entire situation. I'm just really worried that I'm like ripping off a lot of roots in the process of removing this moss. So I'm just gonna take this slow and be careful. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get all of this moss off of the plant, and honestly, it's not the end of the world, but I did get most of it off. In an effort to not like rip off all of the root growth, we're just gonna leave it at that. And I'm going to be potting this in terracotta. I think just one of these little terracotta pots, just so that it can continue to establish like a really solid root system. So yeah, this is just like a little guy, and I'm probably going to be, oh, there's a new growth point. Cool. And I'm probably just gonna be hanging this on the wall up here because I have like a whole row of space for small pots that doesn't have anything on it. She is all done. Okay, I have an informational question for us to talk about while I'm separating this moss. But the question is, why do you repot? When is it time to repot? And how do I repot without busting the roots? Okay, so basically the how and why of repotting. So repotting a plant is something that you'll need to do about once a year, maybe more often depending on the plant, but you can sort of assume it'll be around once a year. And the reason that you do it is because the plant has outgrown its pot, number one. Maybe you just brought the plant home from the store and you're wanting to get it into different soil or just a more aesthetic pot. And another reason you might repot a plant is if the soil is bad, maybe the mixture is causing some problems like rotting. Maybe you want that pot that the plant is in for a different plant. Repotting is a pretty normal part of owning plants, and ooh, this one has a new growth point too. Cute. And depending on the size of your collection, you should be expecting to do some repotting sessions, you know, every couple of weeks to months. Oh no, we lost a big juicy root. No! Hopefully it'll be okay. I think it'll be okay without it. So if you watch this repotting video and you watch other people's repotting videos, you'll see the basic steps of repotting in action, but basically all you have to do is remove the plant from the pot, sort of jostle around the root ball to break it up a little bit, because sometimes the root ball can be very, very tight with roots. Other times it's not at all, it just depends. A lot of this just depends on the plant and its specific conditions. And there she is, looking cute. But I will show you an example of what that would look like. I'm going to repot this little plant right here. This is a variegated epipremnum pinnatum. This is a little one. And the roots are growing at the bottom of the pot. So that is definitely a good reason to repot a plant. What I like to do is take like a chopstick or something, like if the plant doesn't want to come out and it's potted in a hard pot, I will take a chopstick and just slice along the edges and then just wait for the plant to pop out, which there we go. So you can see we got lots of root growth here. And this plant was actually potted completely in cocoa peat because I was just rooting it up. And it didn't really have much of a root system when I started, I don't believe. And now we've got quite a bit. And I really prefer propagating in cocoa peat to like moss, just because it just falls away so much better. I just have had much better experiences with cocoa peat just because it just falls right away from the roots. So this is like a huge root system. I'm actually like totally was not expecting the root system to be that big. You wouldn't completely bare root a plant unless it was in a substrate that you didn't want it to grow long term in. If the soil mixture that the plant was in before is totally fine, then you don't need to get the plant down to its bare roots. It is probably better if you don't, because when you get the plant down to its bare roots, you're doing a lot of disturbing and the plant might not like that. So just something to keep in mind. Plants can definitely handle a lot more than you think, but it's also important to remember to be gentle with them at the same time. Now, I'm not entirely sure what pot I want to put it in. I kind of like the idea of doing this pot, but with the shape of it, it's not great for plants that grow really fast because I don't want to repot out of that pot too soon. I might just keep it in this same pot here, although the roots like really fill it up. I don't know. It really does need a bigger pot though, which is funny because the actual plant that we're seeing is so little, but the roots are really big. Somebody asked like if you could trim the roots, and you definitely can trim the roots. I don't personally do that, but you know, in this is a situation where I probably would. So I'm just going to just chop that bottom part off. And then now we have a little bit smaller of a root system, and this is fine. It's not gonna negatively affect the plant. There's still so much other plant matter to help it grow. So then you just place your plant. You put a little bit of a layer of soil at the bottom of the pot, like maybe, depending on the size of your pot, just like a little bit. And then you will, from that point, add on soil on top, and then, you know, make sure that the plant is in the center of the pot or wherever you want it to be. If you're putting like a moss pole or something in the pot, then you don't want the plant to be at the very center. You'll kind of want to push it towards the front or the back of the pot. But yeah, that's how you repot. It's very easy. It's not as intimidating as it might seem. And as long as you've got good soil, your plant is going to be just fine. Okay, this is a really sweet one. Can you tell us about something goofy and unique that each of your pups does? Okay, so if you didn't know, I have two very cute little cockapoos, Leo and Cooper, and they're so special to me and so cute. This, by the way, is a little, what is this one called? I'm forgetting the name. It's a little Hoya retusa, and it actually has a bloom right now. Look at this. Can you see that little bloom? It's so cute. This pot is basically all roots and some pumice, which is cool that the pumice is like, it's stuck around, but we have to get it into some bigger pot pretty much. So I'm gonna grab another one of those small pots from the wall. And that plant, among a few others, is going to be leaving the cabinet, which is really nice. I'll have more space for other things in the cabinet. Anyway, so something that Cooper does that's really funny. Cooper is the brown one, very, very cute. Cooper is really funny because he just like does not bark. Like, you know those dogs that are just like silent? He is one of those dogs. He is the worst guard dog ever. Like, he gets scared of everything. And I think it really has a lot to do with the fact that he has only ever lived at, you know, his previous owner's house and then now our house. And when we got him, he was super young. So he hasn't really experienced the outside world. So when we were in St. Louis a couple weekends ago, we brought the dogs with us. And Leo grew up in the city. He grew up in Tucson. So we would take him on walks in the neighborhood and, you know, he'd hear all the sounds. And I didn't even think twice about all of the things that Cooper would be exposed to being in St. Louis. Just like literally walking down to like the grass part of the hotel to let him go to the bathroom. But he is like so like bladder shy. Like, he did not want to go to the bathroom. And then anytime there was like a big truck or something, he was absolutely terrified, which was pretty sad. And it made me realize that we need to get him like desensitized and like take him out more to like outside of our property, because it is so quiet here that there's really no loud sounds at any point. And he's just like very easily excitable. So it's just like a sweet, funny little thing about him. We need to get him around loud noises more often so he's not so scared. But gosh, what else does he do? He snores like really loud sometimes, and it's super annoying, but also he's our baby, so it's fine. Spider plant is blooming too. Can you see the little white flower? It's so cute. Man, what can I say about Leo? My first baby. Leo is like very street smart and like, whoa, oh my gosh, no wonder this thing dries out so fast. That is all roots. Lots of stuff going on there. I don't even think I can break that up. I'm just gonna plop it in to this pot here. I was not expecting that much root growth, but that is quite a lot. I mean, she has had a lot of babies, so she's got a lot going on. Yeah, Leo is like very street smart, but he doesn't know that he's a small dog. Like, you know, the big dogs that think they're small and the small dogs that think they're big. That's exactly how Leo is. And like, it's gotten him in trouble sometimes because he'll be in situations where he should not be as confident as he is, yet he is pretty confident. Sometimes I worry about him, like just getting into a situation that he wasn't expecting because he was a little bit too confident. I don't know, yeah, he's just funny. They're both the nicest dogs ever and just like truly the sweetest gift that I could possibly have. Like, as sweet as they look on camera, multiply it by like 4 and then add like a lot of the irritating, like jumping on you and just wanting to give you kisses and sitting exactly in the middle of your lap. Like, Leo is the epitome of a lap dog. He wants to be right up there in your lap, right close to your face. And Cooper usually he gets too hot for that. So he like will be near you, but he likes to sleep underneath the couch. So beautiful spider plant, repotted. And now you know a little bit more about my dogs. Probably more than you ever even need to know, but you know, I love talking about them. Okay, somebody just said wilted plants that never seem to get better. I'm not sure what you're asking, but if that's happening to you, it sounds like root rot to me. So unpot the plant and look at the roots. Okay, least favorite chore, least favorite food. Least favorite chore, I think, if we're talking plant chores, I'm gonna be honest, I really don't like repotting. I hate it. I hate my hands being dirty. So if we're looking at plant chores, that is definitely not a favorite. And then if we're talking about like house chores, I really hate doing the dishes, and also laundry has recently become another one that I really don't like, but I would rather do laundry over doing dishes if I had to choose. And then my least favorite food, I'm gonna call myself out and say that I don't really like mushrooms very much, which I know that there's a lot of people who like are so obsessed with mushrooms. My husband really likes mushrooms, but I like every food pretty much. Like, and if there is a mushroom in my food, I'm still gonna eat it. Like, I'm definitely not a person who would turn my nose up at some mushrooms. Okay, so I think that this is a really cute combination, and this will be good because the root system on these is really small, actually a lot smaller than I was expecting. I don't think that it's cause for concern, but I am just like a little bit worried. So I'm going to make a little bit of a mixture, and I'm going to add a little bit of cocoa peat just because I know that this is one of those more needy begonias. It's a Begonia brevimosa. I showed it in my March favorites video. I just got it from Tennessee Tropicals, and I'm just going to mix in a little bit of cocoa peat just because I worry about it not retaining moisture for long enough. So that's just a little fix that I do on the daily tanks. Like, if I feel like a plant might need a little bit more moisture, I just get some cocoa peat and stick a little, just a little bit, not too much. And I do that where like the roots are hanging out, not the entire thing, just like the bottom part of the pot. And then I'll just pot like regular around the top. And I think that'll be a good little combination for that. I don't anticipate having to repot this for like a year, possibly even longer, just because those root systems were tiny. But I think that this soil will definitely help it to develop something, hopefully a little bit sooner. We're almost running out of table space to put my finished plants. Okay, what is your fave fruit or veg to grow? Definitely tomatoes are my favorite to grow. They are like so yummy when you make them when you grow them at home. Like, I cannot eat tomatoes from the store hardly ever anymore because it just does not taste the same as tomatoes that I've grown myself. Obviously in the winter time you have to, you know, eat from the store unless you've like canned a lot, which I did not have enough of a surplus to can anything last year. So I'm hoping that this year I will. I mean, I have literally like 17 tomato plants, so I think that I'll be able to figure something out. I really loved growing melons too. Melons were super fun to grow. So this plant is my Queen Anthurium, and I really, oh, there is a growth point, thank God. I have been in a love-hate relationship with this plant for a long time. It's just a really difficult anthurium, and as we know and as I've discussed, I really do struggle with anthurium quite a bit. I'm working on figuring out a really good soil mix for them, but what I do know is that it was in a non-nutrient soil mixture, and I needed to give it some nutrients because the leaf is turning yellow, and thankfully there is a growth point coming up, but who knows when that'll actually happen, like when that will actually come out. So I just need to get it into something else in the meantime. So I'm just gonna stick it in this pot with some daily tanks and cocoa peat in hopes that that will help it a little bit in getting some nutrients. I don't know. Next question. Now that it's been a while, you being your own boss, are you more confident in it? So, okay, it's been about a year since I went off and did YouTube full time. So I've been self-employed for, I think it is a year in April. So it's April now. I think it's been exactly a year. So am I feeling more confident in it? Yes, I am feeling more confident. Earlier this year, I hired a sort of life coach to help me get my scheduling on track because I am a person who really needs a lot of structure in my life, or else I'm sort of just like wandering around doing whatever, like basically just putting out fires here, putting out fires there. Yeah, it was really helpful for me to hire somebody to tell me, you know, you're from this time to this time, you're doing this. From this time to this time, you're doing this. And yeah, it was just really helpful for me to know exactly what I needed to be doing at each point in my day. Let's say, not to be dramatic, but it changed my life to have a schedule and structure. So yeah, if you're self-employed, I would really suggest, like, if you are not able to give yourself that structure on your own independently, then to hire like a business coach or a life coach or just somebody, a friend, who can look at your schedule and be like, okay, so look at all this time that you're wasting. Let's figure out like better ways to use your time. So anyway, I'm feeling much more confident about it. There was a brief moment earlier this year when I had to pay my taxes, when I was convinced that I was gonna have to go get a job somewhere else, like not working for myself anymore. I mean, I would have still continued doing YouTube, but I don't know, like it was just looking a little bit bleak there. And I just didn't plan ahead for what I would have to pay in taxes. And so it was sort of a shock to me when I saw my my estimated amount that I'd have to pay. You know, I'm hoping that that was all I have to pay. I'm actually gonna find out pretty soon. I got my taxes done a couple weeks ago. So hopefully I don't have to pay any more taxes. Oh gosh, but yeah, so that kind of like, that moment alone really put my butt into gear that like, being a creative business owner is really awesome, but there's also a lot of like behind the scenes things that you don't think about, like accounting and taxes. And thankfully my mom owns a accounting firm, so she's like absolutely extremely helpful in this whole entrepreneurship journey, and we've bonded quite a bit over it. Like a couple weeks ago, I told her that I've been, I don't know, reconciling my expenses, or I don't know, I was doing something. And she cried because she was so proud of me that I did it on my own. And it's just really sweet to be able to like do this kind of stuff on my own, but it is a lot of pressure to be like entirely responsible for my income. And it's a big reason why I'm so happy that I have a management to help me, because if not, I would not have nearly as many connections as I do. So that's been super awesome. Okay, whew, I did the thing where I sat on my feet instead of the pillow that I put down here, and now my legs are numb. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we've done so many plants. We've got a few more left to do. I think that I'd like to put this Cebu, what is it? Cebu, not a philodendron. Cebu pothos into this pot. But I'd really want this to be on the wall, but this pot is not gonna work on the wall because the lip is not quite deep enough. So I'm not exactly sure what to do with the scale, although it does look super cute in water. I think that it needs more. I've got all these little pots that I can't use. What I'm gonna do is repot this right here. This is my philodendron acrosynervium. And I'm going to put it in this pot, which is pretty big, possibly too big, but this plant needs a big pot because it's such a big plant. And I've had way too many plants in, like top heavy plants in light pots, and they just end up falling over, and it's really annoying. So I need to figure that out. And also, Happy Easter. Okay, yeah, sorry, bad joke. People always like to tell me that this looks like bunny ears, which I completely agree, and I have to acknowledge that. I cannot continue on filming this video without acknowledging that. Oh dear. Yeah, this pot's gonna be way too big. We barely have any roots. You know what? I kind of want to just put this right back into there because it's not ready. Yeah, I'm gonna add soil in so that it's getting some nutrients, but it's not big enough for this pot. We're gonna stick with this little guy. Okay, this is a quick one. Do you water in right after repotting, or are there any plants you don't water right after? I always water in after I repot a plant unless the root ball that the plant was in, like unless the pot had just been watered. Like this one, for example. I literally just watered this like yesterday, so I'm not gonna water it in because the root ball is already soaking wet. So that's really the only situation where I wouldn't. Okay, where do you get most of your rare plants from? I heard people import them and it's cheaper. Okay, so I did a video a couple weeks ago, or I don't know at what point it went up, maybe a couple days ago, but that video was about online plant shopping. So I basically took you through what I do when I'm looking for plants to buy online. And what I discovered is that I think in these current times, importing a plant is not exactly going to be cheaper. That definitely used to be the case, and I don't know if that really holds true anymore. I'm hesitant to say that it's not cheaper and that like more worth it just to buy the plant locally at the higher price. But I don't know. I think that it can be cheaper depending on who you're buying from. That's the thing. Even though it's cheaper, you are running a really big risk of the plant not being very happy upon arrival. And if you're newer to houseplants, you might not know how to handle that exactly. So there's a lot to consider before you import a plant. Definitely cost analysis is number one. Import plants do typically need a lot more attention from you. How much is your time worth is the question I think that you need to ask yourself if you're wanting to import, because some imports go really great, no issues, but most imports need a ton of work. So yeah, there's a few different places you can import. I specifically have imported from Green Spaces ID and Plant House or Plant House Green or something like that. And I have videos on my channel of those experiences because they sent me the plants to sort of show what their plants would look like upon arrival. And I was happy with all of the times that I've imported, but it's a really big risk. Like, not all the plants arrived looking super good. So you have to figure out if that's worth it for you to pay less per plant, more shipping, and more time taking care of it. Okay, favorite TV show that you've recently watched or finished. I finally finished Schitt's Creek, and that's not because I started it recently. I actually started watching Schitt's Creek a very long time ago and just could not get myself to finish it because I was so sad to let go of that show. I love Schitt's Creek so much. I think it's the greatest show ever, and I was really, really sad when it ended, but also it's so beautiful that it was a really special experience. Obviously, I watched Bridgerton like everybody else in the world, and I loved it. I read the books up to Penelope's book, which I think is book 4 or 5. And of course, I really enjoyed it. Anthony is a dreamboat, so obviously he's the best. My favorite Bridgerton brother though is Benedict. I don't know if you guys have like a favorite Bridgerton brother. Benedict is beautiful and I love him, and I'm so excited to hear his story. Well, I already know his story, but you know, I'm excited to see the TV adaptation and how like that crew creates his story, because obviously I know the Julia Quinn version, but what will the Shonda Rhimes version be? I'm excited. I'm in the middle of watching Big Bang Theory, and Daniel and I have been watching that for a long time. We like watching like long running sitcoms, and we take a long time to get through them because we'll watch like maybe 2 episodes every couple of days, so it takes us a while to get through them. But Big Bang Theory has been super enjoyable. I think we just finished season 8 and we're on to season 9 now. Well, unless I can fit this Cebu Blue into this pot right here, I think that we're gonna be done. So let's just gently pull this. Actually, you know what? I think it's gonna work. This plant was not doing so hot, and so I, put it in water as a last ditch effort, and it has completely come back, and I'm so happy about that. Let's do one more question to end it off. If you weren't doing plants and YouTube for work, what do you think you'd be doing? This is an interesting question. Before this, I worked in marketing, and before that, I was a teacher. I haven't thought a ton about this, which might be bad. If I wasn't doing this, maybe I would be back in education to like some degree. Maybe not fully a teacher, but maybe I might actually just be a teacher again. I might have gone back to teaching if I wasn't doing this. I don't know. It's hard to say because also like the pandemic happened, and being a teacher right now is just not fun. Not that you become a teacher because it's fun. Actually, some people do. It is fun to be a teacher sometimes, but yeah, I feel like I would be maybe doing some sort of teaching on the level of second language learning, like helping people who want to learn English as their second, third, or multiple language. They want to learn English as one of their languages. I think maybe I would be doing something in that. I've always really loved working with refugees, and Colombia is like a hub for refugee placement, like long-term refugee placement. So I feel like maybe I would be doing something in that. I did some volunteering with that earlier, like when I moved here in 2021, I think I was doing that. So maybe I would have dived a little deeper into that to see, where that could bring me. It's honestly hard to say where I would be and what I would be doing right now if I wasn't doing this, because yeah, I'm like so fully in it that I haven't really thought about it a ton, but the thought has crossed my mind of like, what am I gonna do long term? Am I gonna be a YouTuber forever? no, obviously this is not going to be something I'm doing until I'm like 80, but I've never felt like super drawn to working as like a career woman. I mean, I do like working. I like, you know, working for myself, but as far as do I enjoy, you know, like the hustle, like the girl boss thing, no. I think I'd rather like do my own thing, like have my own hobbies and just somehow make a living just not working. Obviously that's never gonna happen, but yeah, I feel like what I'm doing right now feels the closest to that as I could possibly get, because I just get to do what I want and film my life, and there's so much behind the scenes that is really, really hard and challenging, but there's so much of this that is just like really fun. And like I literally just repotted like, I don't know, 10 plants and recorded it, and that's work. So I have no idea what I would be doing if I wasn't doing this. I guess I did list some ideas, but as far as realistic prospects, no clue. I would have made it work, but I don't know. It's hard to think. Maybe I'd still be in marketing. Who knows? Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I have loved hanging out with you. I did get a lot more questions that I didn't get to answer, so I think I'm gonna save them because I have a plant chores theme video coming up that I think I'm going to finish this Q&A off with, because it's fun chatting with you and I get to chat about things that you want to chat about, so that's really fun for me. But anyway, I'm going to clean up my area and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.